there, my name's Jill Tiny. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learned an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello and welcome to Collaboration Global, and this is the podcast Being Human, Hidden Depths. I am delighted to welcome today Chris Freer, all the way from sunny Malden in Essex in the UK. He has just joined us at Collaboration Global, although I'm quite pleased to say he's been stalking me for quite some time. And it was lovely to find out. And he's been coming to Clubhouse sessions, and he's been coming to Collaboration Global sessions. And eventually he said, I've got to get involved with this group of people. So welcome, Chris. It's lovely to have you with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah.
Well, as I've said to you before, whenever you and I have a conversation, I start off going just a quick one, and then half an hour later, we are in the depths of a really interesting, fascinating conversation. So I've dragged you sooner rather than later to this podcast so that we can share your philosophy and your thoughts on life, and what you're doing with your life as well, so that we can inspire other people out there that may be in a position to feel like they need some help. And just by listening to this, I think they will be inspired by you. So let's start at the beginning. First and foremost, just briefly tell us what attracted you to Collaboration Global, and how are you finding it so far?
Well, originally, I like you said, I have been stalking for quite some time. To be quite honest with you, I am not brilliant with social media platforms and stuff like that, and I'm trying to learn how to be impactful on them. If you understand that,
yeah.
And actually, when I started really delving into it, to be honest with you, you got me when we started doing the Clubhouse gigs, if you like. And I kind of thought, hang on a minute, she's really attracting some very, very interesting people around her. And I thought, I kind of want to be involved in this because I've not met anybody in the Collaboration Global community that I don't like or I haven't got something from.
Yeah. It's a great feeling, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is. I've learned that I'm an opsimath, Jill. An opsimath is someone who has chosen to continue to learn later on in life.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, me too.
So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's a new word. I like that one. Optimath. I'm also an optimist. That's one I get accused of being quite often. It's like, oh, for goodness sake, Jill, you're such an optimist. You're such a Pollyanna. I'm like, that's a good thing, isn't it? Well, that was a good thing. But optimath, that's a new one on me. Thank you, Chris.
Opsimath.
Opsimath. Right.
OPSIMTH, I think it is, something like that. ATH. Yeah.
Give that a Google.
Yeah.
See what I can learn. See, it's happening already. So it's lovely to have you in the community, and I did love our conversations on Clubhouse. And for those listening, if you're interested, we're always the last Thursday of the month now. We've changed it from last year. So we're going to carry on Clubhouse at 2:00 UK time, and we're the last Thursday of the month. And you'll probably hear Chris and myself having a good old natter with a few other people. As you say, Chris, there are some amazing people that have kind of put their heads above the parapet and are having a bit of a rah-rah and getting on their soapbox and going, this isn't right, what can we do about it? So you've come, like many people, on a long journey through your life to come to the place where you go, I'm settled, I'm happy, I'm passionate about what I know, I want to help people and I want to make a difference. But what I'm a little bit curious about is, what was 8-year-old Chris like? when you were little and somebody said to 8-year-old Chris, what are you going to do when you grow up? What was your thing then? What were you good at? What did you love doing? And could you ever imagine doing what you're doing now when you were that age?
Definitely not, no. 8-year-old me, my God. Wow. I would probably describe myself as 8-year-old me as a bit of a rebel, really.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't fit in at school. I was a lot more focused on what was sort of going on. I'd rather have been out climbing a tree, or climbing something if I could. And also, there was this burning question that I needed answering, and we were taught that space is nothing. But in my head, I thought, well, it's got to be something to be nothing. And it used to drive me up the wall thinking about that.
Brilliant. Yeah. And also, I can imagine you drove your teachers up the wall as well.
Well, I got dismissed really quite a bit, Jill. I didn't have a particularly brilliant relationship with the school system, which is okay. It was what it was like then, you know. It was like that then.
And some would say it's not changed enough in the meantime. And I think it has failed a lot of people. But when you consider it's a group of people that are trying to do the best they can, I think there are some brilliant teachers out there, and I think there are some diabolical teachers out there. And you hear a lot of stories, and I don't think people appreciated back then how much of an influence a comment from a teacher would have on somebody's entire life going forward. Whether it be you're useless, and then they go, well, I'm going to prove that I'm not, or whether a teacher says you'll never amount to anything, and they go, well, why should I bother trying? And they don't, and they go down the wrong road.
I kind of think you summed up my school life there, just in 2 sentences. I was constantly told that I was thick.
Oh no.
And yeah, I mean, I struggled. I struggled with, listen, I can read and I can write and all that. I can do that. But I struggled reading books. I couldn't work out why. And it's actually later in life that I found out why. You know, I'm mildly dyslexic, but I have a condition called, I think it's called Eileen's syndrome, which is visual stress. And what happens with me is when I read a book, the words move on the page. So it is actually quite a stressful experience for me reading. But I've now got these super duper tinted glasses that it's like putting books under microscopes for me. It's like, wow. So, but that's okay.
Yeah, I remember when I did my teacher training, because about 100 years ago I taught in primary schools, and part of the training was how to read to children. So this guy there was about 15 of us in the room, and he gave us a piece of paper with a paragraph on it. He said, right, to yourselves, I want you all to read this paragraph. So we sat there and we read it. Like, yeah, okay, we can read, great. Tick, got that box ticked. He said, right, so when you read it, how did you read it? I'm like, what do you mean? We just read it. Which okay. I said, yeah, but how did you read it? Were you reading it and hearing your voice talking to you? Were you reading it and hearing the author's voice talking to you? Were you reading it and seeing images appear so you understood it? Or did you read it and hear music so that you understood it? Or was there another way that you read it? And I'm like, weird. Obviously, everybody hears the author speaking, don't they? What's going on with you? It's a bit crazy. What are we doing? So he said, now wait to read it again and find out how you read it. So we all read it again. I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely the author's voice. Everyone hears the author's voice. 15 of us went around the room. How did you? every single one had something different. Not one person had the same as me, and nobody else had the same as anybody else. 15 different ways to read a paragraph of writing. Now that to me was a huge revelation. Now, if you imagine teachers teaching a class of 33, 35 kids, or sometimes more, and they've all got a different way of learning and absorbing information. I mean, if you'd been given an audio book or a video of what you needed to learn when you were 8 years of age, how much easier would that have been for you compared to, no, read that. And you're like, oh, the words are moving around. I can't. But you didn't know that because you thought everyone was going through it, but everyone else seemed to be reading it okay. So you must have been stupid. This was probably your conclusion, the teacher's conclusion, because we didn't know what we didn't know at that time. So hopefully going forward, teaching will be more holistic and more focused on the individual. It's a nightmare to do as a teacher because we were moving towards that sort of 20 odd years ago, because when you've got that many children in a class, it's practically impossible to put the curriculum around individuals, but we were going towards that. So let's hope that the children of the next generation won't suffer in quite the same way that you had to at your age. But now I know that you are an amazing author because you have written a beautiful article for The Quest, which is one of our publications. So I can't wait for that to be published in about a month, 2 months' time, something like that. Exciting. So you've grown up, you've gone off to work, you've got married, had relationships, all the la-di-da-di-da that we do, 2.4 children, dog and cat and all the rest of it. What would you say was a pivotal moment for you that brought you to the person that you are in front of us today? What was your learning that you go, if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't be this person I am now?
I think I need to rewind just a little bit because what I was tempted to say there would have been quite impactful, I think, and shocking.
Yeah.
If I may I just rewind a little
Go
bit?
for it. Yes, the floor is yours, my love. Thank you.
I mean, my school experience made me very clever, if you like, about finding ways around things or finding ways of getting people to do something for me. Yeah. And I found that I had this knack for making money.
That's handy.
Which was handy, you know, and I sort of burst out into the scenes when Margaret Thatcher was up there, and you had this. I can't remember the character who played the character, but you had this loads of money character on the television. Yeah. Remember
Harry Enfield.
That's it, Harry Enfield, and I kind of sort of morphed into that really, and it was whatever you had to, whatever I had to do to make a pound, I'd do. You know, I did secure an apprenticeship, but I started my working life at 13 years of age on Romford Market as a barrow boy.
No, it will.
yeah, and the pinnacle of my career on Romford Market was getting on one of the fruit and veg stalls.
Yeah, I could just see you there.
yeah. And anyway, I did my apprenticeship as an electrical engineer, which I really enjoyed that. But truly, I wanted to be a pro snooker player. And you know, I was pretty good, but I weren't good enough. And Barry Hearn, who was or is Steve Davis's manager, that I'm sure a lot of people know, offered me a job. It just bought a gaming machine company, and it was at the time of them being like mechanicals, and they were converting them over to electromechanicals. And I went to work for him, and I absolutely loved it. In and out of pubs all day long, in and out of clubs, you know, roaming around up London, and
lovely.
And I loved it. And those skills that I learned in my apprenticeship came to fruition. But I wanted more. So I started operating my own machine. And I found, wow, there was so much money in it. I was making money. I was growing. I left him and I set up on my own. And then I bought a half share in a club that I was supplying machines to. And then I bought the other partner out. And then I got into a pub. And then I got into another club. And at my height, I found myself with 4 pubs and a couple of clubs on the go.
Wow.
You know, I bought and sold a few as well, but that was the nucleus of my business. And actually, do you know what? I was doing quite well, and I thought,
Made it.
This is what it's all about. You know, I was having 4 holidays a year.
Yeah.
You know, but I was stressed up to the eyeballs. I was constantly going to my GP with these weird and wonderful things that were happening to me, to be told that it was all stress related. And it all come to a pinnacle, really, I think in 2002, when I collapsed and I got carted off to hospital. That put me on the journey to find out actually what was wrong with me. And I got diagnosed with a condition called multiple sclerosis, which, well, it was this. Well, it was. I can't tell you what that did to me, because all the information that you could ever find out about this condition was that it was debilitating. It was progressive. It was incurable. It was, you are going to end up in a wheelchair. You are going to, right? And I signed up for what was available at the time, these disease-modifying drugs, but I was getting worse. I was getting worse. I hadn't changed my lifestyle. I was still thought that I could carry on doing what I was doing. My first wife had, I didn't know this at the time, but had decided that she was going to exit the marriage at some point because she didn't want to be married to someone who was ill, which is okay, and I don't want that to sound as if it's bad, because it's not, because it does happen to a lot of people, and actually, she never signed up for that, and fair enough, that's all right. But all these things were taking a toll on my mental health, really. And I was getting worse. And on one beautiful blue sky day like today in 2007, so it's 5 years after my diagnosis. Yeah. I went out and I had a serious attempt at ending my life. Wow. Which hurt a lot. I bet. But very bad day. But actually, it's that day that you've just asked, and I know it's a very long-winded answer that I've given you. Yeah. But that was the pivotal day for me. Pivotal day for me, because the thing that saved me that day was compassion. And it wasn't compassion for me. It wasn't compassion for the 4 children that I'm the father of, because I never even give them one thought before I did what I was about to do. Wow. But it was compassion for the lorry driver whose front wheels I intended to hurl myself under. And this split second, we met eyes, and I thought, what is this action going to do to him? Yeah. What is this going to do to him? And I hesitated, and I sort of bounced off the side of the vehicle. It was, I was lucky. I was bruised, but I was lucky, And it's not something I recommend either. I've got to be honest with you. But it was what I need. It was actually what I needed. It was that hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't instantaneous. But when I started to sort of gather my thoughts, I thought, well, I've hit rock bottom. And there's nothing more solid than solid rock to start to rebuild some foundations to a new life, because I had this opportunity to actually become the person that I believe I've always been destined to be. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that some people are blessed to find that really early on, and that you can ask them at the age of 8, what do you want to do? And they already know. However it is, I mean, you hear about these kids that are, there was a kid on TV the other day who's 13 years of age, has written 2 cookbooks, and he teaches children how to cook, because he realizes that if you have to look after your mum and dad because they're not very well, then you need to know how to cook as well as I do. And he'd been cooking for his mum, who was disabled, since he was about 7 or 8. It is that kind of, some people know it immediately and some people find it out, in their 70s and 80s, but they still manage to do something about it. I believe there's a reason why we're all here on this planet, and we come to it in different ways. And then when we realize what that is and we found that purpose, we then have to work out how we're going to get it out to the rest of the world and how we're going to help as many people as we can, because that's why we're here. We're not here just to have a jolly nice time, although you can do that too. There's nothing illegal about that, but there is a reason why you're here. And it sounds like to me, even the sort of 6 or 7 years beforehand, when you've been given this diagnosis, it still wasn't enough of a wake-up call for you, that you had to go through the mental anguish and pain of that attempted suicide before you kind of really woke up and went, hang on a minute, I'm not going to waste what I've been given. And everything that is happened to you, you could go around going, oh, poor me. Look at me, I've got this problem. I can't work the way I used to. My wife has left me, blah, blah, moan, victim. But you didn't. You hit that rock, but then you used it as a foundation to change the way you viewed your life and viewed what was happening to you. And I think we were saying earlier about a lot of people view illness and disability as from a victim space and a passive space of like, oh no, I'll go and ask the doctor what he can give me, rather than what can I do for myself. So
absolutely.
What happened to you after this rock bottom space, sort of almost like the next few weeks, few months of having had this attempted suicide? Did you talk to anyone? Did you tell people about it? Did you ask for help? Or what was your the flow to where you are? Yeah.
Initially, I got put through the system. I did get sectioned. Only for 24 hours I got sectioned, but then I got released to someone who knew me. Actually, it was my ex mother-in-law.
Oh wow! What a kind woman.
Yeah, and I will be eternally grateful to her. But I was on this mission to find change, because I wanted change. Yeah. And I got introduced. I did the care in the community bit for a couple of weeks, and I just knew I knew I was stable. I knew I was never ever going to try anything like that ever again. And I sort of turned my back on care in the community, and I turned my back on I can't remember what antidepressant it was that they were giving me, but I turned my back on it. And I never ever encourage anyone not to take the advice of their health professional. Okay? Yeah. I'm very strong about that, really am. But I just knew what was right for me, Yeah. And I got introduced to an organisation called Swans. Unfortunately, they're no longer here, but it stands for Sometimes We All Need Support. And I was going there, and it was a disabled group of people, but there was this lady there she was a Reiki master and a spiritual counsellor. And I really tuned into her, and she got me, and I got her, and I spewed my guts all over the floor about my life, really. She probably knows well, she knows enough about me, it'd probably get me put in prison, but but she said something to me that had a really profound effect on me. And she said, because we were doing some stuff, and I said, look, you got to understand, I've got this incurable condition, and I've got damage to my myelin sheath that cannot be repaired, and it's never ever going to work. I love what we're doing, but you got to understand. So she went, why does it work sometimes then? And I went, well, I don't know. But I'm seeing my neurologist in a couple of weeks. I'll ask him. And I did. And he went, I don't know.
Great.
And I went, and I thought, oh, hold up a minute. There's something in this. And I started to study in the way that I can study, if you like, you know. I mean, I know I've moved on from there, but I started to study, and I started to study about diet, what we eat, and what effects it has on our body. I started to study exercise and movement. I mean, by this time, I'm in a wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
Not all the time, not all of the time, but I would say probably 60% of my time I was using a chair to get around. I never used a chair indoors or anything like that, because, you know, I used to walk and whatever. Yeah. But to go out to the shops or anything like that, it would be a wheelchair. But as I studied, and I also started looking for good, positive stories that are out there, so I find that there were people that seemed to be controlling this condition that I have.
Right.
You know? And as I started to exercise more and stuff like that, I found that I was starting to get little glimmers of movement back into my feet. You know, I could wiggle my toe, or I could, you know, not all the time, but there was glimmers of stuff, of change. But I was so enthusiastic about learning how the mind works, and how actually our brain has control over everything. You know, it really does, you know. And I set out on this journey. A new lady came into my life in 2010, and I'm really, really absolutely proud to say that she's now my wife. Lovely. She showed me that I could be loved, really, you know, and I never ever thought that there would be love for someone like me. And I just don't really think she understands what impact she had on my life, you know.
Well, to me, love is a superpower, and when somebody comes into your life and shows you that you can be loved, it kind of unlocks a door, doesn't it? And this place of where you've been protecting yourself and looking after yourself and looking after number one, all of a sudden becomes, there's two of us. I'm not on my own anymore. So your tense coping mechanism was now, so your body can kind of breathe into this other entity that's another human being and get energy through the love that they are sharing. So there's no coincidence that this happened at a time when you were exploring and you were open to new things and you were researching and finding things out, that all of a sudden the universe has sent you this amazing person to kind of give you that extra strength. Because for my mind, this is what you were supposed to be doing. You've done your training ground on the market stalls, and you've done the training of this is what it feels like when life is rubbish, she said politely. But you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you've come through and you've hit the rock bottom, which how else can you identify with other people who've hit rock bottom unless you can go, I've been there, I know what it feels like. So you've gone through all of this training, and now all of a sudden she's been brought to you to give you that extra strength to go, right, what's my next bit? What's the next thing that I need to do? So what did you do once you were together and you were?
Well, she gave me the confidence to go and get the qualifications that I needed to do, because I still hadn't got my mind round actually walking again properly. Yeah. And I thought to myself, look, you know, I could be a counsellor. Yeah, or I could be a coach, or I could be that sort of stuff, and I can do that from a wheelchair. I don't have to be mobile to be able to do that, and I wanted to make a living, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And she gave me the confidence, if you like, to be able to do the studying that I needed to get the qualifications that I now have.
Yeah.
You know, and it took me, you know, to gain all the qualifications that I have. It took me. It was a 3-year journey.
Yeah.
And they have really. Well, they're the first exams I've ever passed.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yeah. So
what did you get? What was it in counselling? What was your qualification?
No. I did a NLP practitioner course, which is much maligned. You know, you can go and get an NLP practitioner certification. You can do it in a weekend, or you could do it online for a £5. It took me a year of studying to get my practitioner course, and it not because the course was a year long, you know, and it's very in depth, and I would say probably NLP is at the center of everything I do. You know, it's all about language, but I've also gone on and I've gained qualifications in cognitive behavioural therapy, hypnotherapy, mindfulness, meditation, all stuff like that.
Yeah, you're making up for lost time at school, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So then now you've kind of worked out, you're coming to the conclusion, or you're through your research, you're finding out that actually you've accepted not walking the way you should do, but actually, as I know you now, you very rarely use your wheelchair. So how did that transition come? Did you have an epiphany one day, or was it actually well, flipping heck, I'm going to do this? Was it a challenge you set yourself, or was it just something that happened one day?
I think people would describe me as stubborn, really. And whilst I had resigned myself to the wheelchair, and I'd planned my life going forward with it in my life, if you like. But there was that breakthrough moment for me was one day. I'm lucky to live on near the coast, and we've got the Blackwater estuary that's not far from the house, and often on nice days I will go over the park. It's called the Promenade Park. It's an old Victorian park.
Lovely, I know it well.
And enjoy nature, because that's, I think that's one of the best places to be. You know.
Yeah.
And I was sitting over there one day, and I'm going to attribute this to my old mum, right, who's long since gone, right. But a little voice came in my head and said, "Listen, boy, if you don't start using them, you are going to lose them forever."
Good point.
Right. And I thought to myself, but you know, this is possible because I am getting movement back, and I am, you know, what more can I do to get movement back? And I found that I was getting stronger. I mean, none of this happened overnight, Jill.
No.
Right. And this is one of the things I think that trips people up so much, because let me tell you, where I am now has taken a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Right? It's taken cut heads, scraped noses, broken bones, you know, where I've fallen. But I've never given up.
Perseverance, yeah.
I've always believed in the goal. And I've never, ever, ever lost sight of the goal. Whereas I think sometimes people, this is unfortunate, and it will be somewhere in their deep, deep beliefs, their limiting beliefs that they have about themselves that were put in there years and years and years ago. Right? That they give up. Whereas with me, no matter what I was given when I was a child, and I was given some pretty dodgy things, if you like, you know, but the one thing my dad taught me, never give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never have.
Did you ultimately go, I am going to walk one day? Or did you just go, if I don't keep trying, I'll never find out if I can walk one day? What was your belief?
All I found was that the first thing I did was I made sure that I stopped wall walking indoors.
Right.
Like, because it is a perceptual thing. And I've worked with people and they said, look, you know what, Chris, like, you know, I go to the gym and I'm in a room and I can walk. But when I get home, I'm wall walking. It's perception, isn't it? Because all of a sudden, when you're in that room and you're in space, your survival instinct kicks in.
Yes.
And you go, well, I've got to stand up because otherwise I'm going to fall over.
Yeah.
So what did I retrain myself? And I made sure that I was wall walking less and less and less.
So you were taking away your comfort blanket a little bit, weren't you? That was
and it's been a gradual thing. I think the greatest moment for me on this journey that I'm on, if you like, is when I went back to see. I started, because I got diagnosed. We've missed some bits and pieces out. I got diagnosed as secondary progressive in 2008.
Right.
Drugs were withdrawn from me then, because at that time there were no disease-modifying drugs available for SPMS. And I was being monitored on a yearly basis of actually sort of getting worse. Yeah. But the last time that I saw my neurologist actually in person, I think it was 2016, 2017, something like that. I walked into his surgery, Jill, and he looked at me and he went, what drugs have I put you on? What drugs is it?
Oh.
And I went, well, I'm not on any drugs, doctor.
Hey.
There's nothing you can do for me. And he looked me up and down. He went, you look like you're getting better. What are you doing? And I told him.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually been to see him since.
Wow.
I see my MS nurses.
Yeah.
But I don't see him.
It's bit by bit, isn't it? It really is bit by bit.
It is. And I am always going to be a work in progress. Like, absolutely. You know, I am not cured. I'm not saying to anybody that I'm cured, because I'm not. But what I am is in control.
Yeah.
And I do not have multiple sclerosis. I have a mate, a best mate, called multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
You know that mate that you don't have to see for a couple of years, and then they come back in your life and they can tell you what you've done wrong, and you know, as if where you pick it, you know, you pick it up from where you left off. Yeah. And my mate called MS comes back and tells me off when I've done something I shouldn't do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's like this scale, isn't it? So obviously it's not just sheer pig-headedness and determination that's got you to this state, although that's really helped along the way. So it's the mindset is very, very important. But what about some, you know, actual things that people could do? Not necessarily people who've got MS, people that are wanting just to be healthier in their bodies and have more energy. Did you change your diet? Did you change your exercise regime? Did you sleep more or less, or how did you kind of adapt your life to fit in with your pig-headedness and your determination?
All of them things.
Right.
In spades. Yes, I did change my diet. I started to listen to my body.
Right.
And I think human beings now have lost that ability to listen to what's going on in our body.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I started to, I would eat something and I would feel what it was doing and how it was reacting to me. And I've found, right, and this is me. This is not,
not going to be replicated over everybody, because everyone's totally different. Yeah,
I perform better on a mainly plant-based diet.
Right.
So I very rarely eat meat. I'm not saying I don't, because I do sometimes.
Yeah.
I used to eat a lot of fish, but I've even started to cut that out now. And primarily, it's plant-based. I eat plant-based.
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? That have you heard of the sway test? Have you heard? No. So this was a lady called Carol May. Carol, get in touch. I think she's coming to the next meeting, actually. So I'll introduce you. And she treats women with mindset solutions for their weight problems, especially menopausal women, because we all go through that phase of we hit the menopause and hang on, where's that half a stone come from? And she says that there are foods out there that do you good and foods out there that won't do you good. And that varies from person to person. So the way you find out, your intuition will tell you. And she does the sway test. So you hold a piece of fruit or a bit of food, whatever it is you're going to be consuming, into your gut, into your sort of stomach, and you stand level-footed on the floor and you close your eyes and you ask your intuition, is this food good for me? So is this orange going to be good for me? And you just wait. And within about 20 seconds, your body goes one way or the other. Sometimes it's tiny, tiny imperceptible sway forward or back. And basically, if it sways back, don't eat it. If it sways forward, you're good to go. Now, we tried it out, and she said, even if you don't know what's in your hand, it will tell you whether it's good for you or not. So we tried, she had a whole bag full of things, and she put something in my hand, and I was holding it in a way that I couldn't tell. I knew it wasn't in a packet, but there was one, I'm allergic, intolerant to some products and some foods. So she put an orange in my hand, and I whoosh went back. And I said, what have you put in my hand? And I looked down and went, oh yeah, I can't have orange. It will really give me a bad gut ache. But, my intuition, without even knowing what was in my hand, told me, do not eat this thing that's there. So I don't know how it works. It's blooming clever. And it seems to be really accurate as well. So there's a few things that I already know from having had a Vega test that's good for me and not good for me. And so with my eyes closed, people would kind of, who knew me, knew what was good and bad, put chocolate in Jill's hand, milk chocolate, not so good, dark chocolate, okay, she's fine. And you can see what your body likes and what it doesn't like. And I thought, and she said, even if you can't walk around Tesco's doing this, they might tell you off. But even if you kind of get near to it and say, and just shut your eyes for a second, is this good for me? And even if you've got a craving for something, it's usually your body telling you that's what it needs. But the clever stuff is working out, I want biscuits. Is that a craving because your body needs it? No, highly unlikely your body needs biscuits. That's your mindset playing tricks on you, and you've got to get your head in a good space. But generally, your body seems to know what's good for you and will act and adapt accordingly. So it's really tuning in, as you say, to what's right for you. And your body is a temple. You've got to look after it. It's the only one you've got.
I mean, it struck me, and it still does, that we are what we consume.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't only mean by what we eat and drink. I mean, although that they are the huge elements of it, but what we consume via books, what we consume via the media, the TV, all of those things, they all form our view of the world.
Computer games, and they say, oh, it doesn't affect children. If they're growing and their brains and their minds are developing, how can it not affect them?
I think all things, I think the most important years of a human being are them first 7. Yeah. Without a doubt. The first 7 years.
Show me the boy at 7 and I'll show you the man. Yeah.
I'd say primarily in the work that I do, the solution for probably 80% of all the people I've worked with has been found in them first 7 years of life. You know, the solution. So
yeah, interesting.
It's yeah. I mean, like I say, I am a work in progress. I am constantly trying to improve. But I'm really enjoying the journey.
Yes. But you're also living proof that the adjustments and the tweaks and the belief in what you're doing is working. So whilst other people could look at you and go, well, I'm going to do what he's doing and then it'll be fine. Actually, they've got to work it out as well for themselves, what's going to work for them. And that's where somebody like you can come alongside and go, have you thought about this and have you thought about that? Because I would imagine your work with people is more about getting their mindset in the right place so they
Yes.
can do that exploration and find out what's working for them.
Absolutely.
If somebody was struggling now, Chris, and was unhappy with either their health or the way their body was functioning or not functioning, what would you say would be a good first step to kind of set them on the road to a better life? Because I think if you've got your health, you've got everything, haven't you? So
I'm a great believer in the outdoors. You know, and I believe that getting out in the outdoors and listening, and I mean really listening to what's going on around you and what you're saying to yourself, and actually sorting out the things that you're saying to yourself as to whether they're facts, because very few of them are going to be facts.
Yeah, we tell ourselves stories, don't we?
Yeah. And I, in a real nutshell, what I would say to you, if someone is struggling, you know, there's help out there, definitely. But if someone's struggling and they want something that they can do practically, is that get yourself out in nature and listen to what's going on around you and listen to yourself uncritically. Yeah, that's important. That's very important.
Is having that making that space to quieten your mind,
yes,
so that you can listen. Because I don't know about you, when I sort of sit quietly for a minute, my brain is going, don't forget that, and forgot, oh, I should be doing that, what's for dinner, and you have to go, let's just put all that in a little box, put a big ribbon around it, put it over there, and then I'll listen and I can hear what's going on. And it is discipline and it is commitment. Maybe you should be giving lessons in how to be determined and pig-headed, because I think that's what we need in order to put to one side the world that we live in that is calling on us for all the wrong things, and actually ignore some of that draw, ignore the Instagram and the call on your time for social media, and ignore the sugar and the carbohydrates that are stuck in your kitchen from Christmas that are still waiting to be eaten, and just kind of be kind to yourself. I suppose ultimately that's what we need more people to be, is be kind to yourself, but also be strong within yourself so that you are doing the best for who you are. You are getting the exercise, you are getting out into nature. I think that theme is coming back again and again. It's really interesting that putting your feet on the grass or on the sand or in the sea or in a river, and just being with nature without any agenda, without any, I've got to do 10,000 steps today or anything like that, just being will have a profound effect, I believe. And I think this is what you were saying earlier when I asked you, what do you want people to leave with? And you were talking about how their belief system and what they believe is influencing their whole life. So as a sort of closing comment, have you got anything around, if people are believing one thing, how do they kind of break out of this one-way system that's not serving them to entertain and adopt stronger, more powerful beliefs?
I would say probably see things for what they really are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be influenced by what you think is going to happen, because that's only going to be influenced by your experiences from the past. And every single thing that we do has the potential to be a new experience, doesn't it?
Mm.
So in a way, I suppose, in a nutshell, what I would say is pay attention to what you're doing on purpose. That's it.
Mm. Live your life on purpose.
Mm.
Don't let it be an accident.
Pay attention to what you're doing on purpose. You know?
Yeah.
We do things on autopilot, don't we?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Career down these dead ends.
We intent on being busy. To what end?
Pardon?
Everyone is intent on being busy, but it doesn't serve them. So it's to what end are you being busy? Well, be busy on purpose for you if you're going to be busy, or be still for a better reason, for a better purpose. Oh, we got quite profound there at the end, Mr. Freer. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight having this conversation. What a journey you've been on, and how wonderful that you're coming out at the other end of all the upset and the angst and the probably too many hospital visits. You've probably got your money out the NHS, that's for sure. But you're now turning it around and looking at other people and how you can help them. Yes. So if somebody wanted to have a conversation with you, maybe they're stuck in their health, or they're stuck in the way they live, and they just need someone to talk to, what's the best way to get hold of you? Okay, well, I have a website which needs updating, but you can contact me through my website, which is www.upbeatlife.co.uk. Mm-hmm. Or you can email me directly on hello@upbeatlife.co.uk. Lovely. That's fantastic. Thank you. And of course, if you want to meet Chris directly, he's going to be at our Collaboration Global meeting most months. It's always the last Tuesday of the month. You're very welcome to attend. It's all on Zoom. So no matter where you are in the world, you can come and have a chat with Chris and find out more about Collaboration Global as well, because our theme is to come together to make a big difference. We want to connect, we want to collaborate, and we want to grow. So it's these conversations that we have at a deeper level where we can really understand each other more and help each other, and that goes out to the wider society as well. So come along to our meetings. We have a lot of fun. We've got amazing guest speakers as well as our own members that are speaking, and you get to have a chat, and we have breakout rooms. It's a good fun. So hopefully you'll come to that. If you want to find out about those, you can go on Eventbrite and look for Collaboration Global, or you can go onto our website, which is collaborationglobal.org, and just scroll down your homepage and you'll find the booking site there, and you can book one of their meetings. Thank you, Chris. It's been a wonderful conversation. I've really enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll have many more, and we'll find out more of what you're up to in the not too distant future. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.